Hello and welcome back to my channel Suspicious Minds. My name is Nini and I am your host. On here I tell you about true crime stories, strange disappearances, and then just generally creepy stuff. So if that is something you are interested in, please click on subscribe and choose your notifications. I would really love to get 5,000 subscribers very soon, and I can only do that with your help. I recently finished the documentary Amy Bradley is Missing on Netflix, and it's really a documentary I can recommend. And it's about the very infamous disappearance of Amy Bradley on a cruise ship. I've known about this case for many years, but I then started looking into how often does this happen? And yes, it happens daily. Hundreds of people go missing on cruise ships. I don't know if you knew that, but that is the reality. And there are so many cases of this that you can actually just have a YouTube channel talking about weird disappearances of cruise ships. But today I want to do a different kind of video. I'm going to discuss a few of these cases about people who stepped onto a cruise ship to have a wonderful vacation, but they never stepped off that cruise ship again. The first case we are going to look at is the case of Merrian Carver, who disappeared in the year 2004. Merrian was a banker who in August of 2004 decided to take a 7-day Alaskan cruise on the cruise ship called Celebrity Mercury. But what was weird was that Merrian didn't tell anybody where she was going. She didn't tell her family, and she left her young daughter with her ex-husband, also not telling him where she's going. So on the second night, between Seattle and Alaska, Merrian disappeared. Her cabin attendant, when he went into her room on the second day, he realized that her bed was untouched. She didn't use her toothbrush. He saw that the room was in exactly the same state that it was the day before. So he went, as per their arrangements on the ship, to his supervisor. He told him, look, this lady hasn't been in her cabin, and she's a 40-year-old lady. She's definitely not still partying somewhere. Nothing against the 40-year-olds, but the supervisor then said to him, forget about it. The people come on this cruise to have fun, and that's what she's doing. So for the next 5 days, the cabin attendant went into the room, and the room stayed untouched. Every day he went to report this, and the cleaning supervisor just said, I told you, forget about it. So when the people on the ship knew that they were going to dock, this specific cabin attendant were told to pack up her stuff, and some of the items they said just give it to charity, without telling the authorities where they docked that this person vanished, or without telling her family that she was on the ship, but on the second day she disappeared. By this time, Merrian's father, Kendall, realized, and this was weeks later, he was now looking for his daughter, and weeks later he found out, as he retraced her steps, that she was on the Celebrity Mercury. Kendall then contacted the cruise liner and asked them, my daughter, I've got proof that she paid for this trip. She was dropped at the whatever evidence they had of her boarding the ship. But the father told them, and the cruise liner said they'll come back to him. It took them 3 days to confirm that she was on the trip. And that is 26 days after she disappeared. So 26 days after that cabin attendant told his supervisor that something is wrong was the first words that the cruise liner spoke to Miriam's family. They confirmed that she was on the ship, and they confirmed that on the second night she did not use her room. But they also said it's not uncommon that people meet other people on a ship and they just go and spend the night. They said that she could have disembarked at Vancouver, and they don't keep track of the disembarkment from the boat. The holding company claimed that she may have taken her own life. The fact that she didn't tell anybody that she was going on this cruise shows that she possibly had depression, but there was no evidence that Merrian took her own life. The CCTV also very conveniently was taped over. So for Merrian's father, her disappearance really became a crusade, and he sued the cruise liner for covering up her disappearance, and he later co-founded an organization called International Cruise Victims. So he also pushed for the law that was in place, and that's directly for his involvement, the 2010 Cruise Vessel Security and Safety Act, which puts some steps into place when anybody starts to realize that somebody on a cruise ship is missing. But until today, of the recording of this video, which is 2025, the remains of Merrian Carver has never been found. There's no evidence, no body, and only questions for the family of Merrian Carver. The disappearance of Annette Mizener, and this was also in 2004. Annette was a very lively, always the heart of the party, and she loved doing two things, amongst others. She loved playing bingo, and she loved singing karaoke. And it was in playing bingo that she actually won a prize for 4 people to go onto the cruise of the Carnival Pride. Annette was 37 years old. She had won a Mexican Riviera cruise. It seemed like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So unfortunately, there were only 4 places, and she took her parents and her daughter. On the 4th of December, they took the cruise. Her husband stayed at home, and I'm sure he wished her all the fun she can have on this cruise. So she had a wonderful time on the ship. There was lots of pictures taken. She loved it. They said Annette went all out. She sang karaoke with her daughter, and then as it turned into night, she said that she's going to get a good seat at the bingo. I mean, she loves bingo. She won the trip because of the bingo, and she was not going to let this opportunity to play bingo slip out of her hands. But that was the last that Annette's family ever saw of her. Annette didn't show up back at the cabin, and later her parents started to become worried. They knew Annette would stay out late. I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but they did get worried. This is also something that I saw on the Amy Bradley documentary, is that the cruise line wants everybody to remain calm. So naturally, the person whose family member is missing is hysterical, and they would calm you down. Like with Amy Bradley, they told the family, let's just go and look further. And this is what they did with Annette's family as well. However, few hours after they made alarm about Annette not coming to the cabin, a passenger saw a beaded purse just lying on a deck chair, and it was Annette's purse. Everything was inside. Her room key, whatever she had in there, was still in there. Now, what was very strange is the first thing when they arrived at this deck chair, I'm not sure if this is a security person, but it's somebody who worked for the cruise, said, oh, well, fantastic, because there's a camera. We've got CCTV watching this specific part of the ship. And when they looked at the camera, it was covered with a wet paper. So somebody deliberately put this wet paper towel over the camera so that nothing can be captured there. Passengers reported hearing a commotion at the time that they think that Annette left the bingo. The cruise was searched, the Coast Guard searched for Annette for 16 hours, but no one was found in the waters where they were actually sailing. The FBI became involved and they could not determine whether Annette had jumped, had fallen, or had been pushed. And her family also very, very strongly said that Annette would not have done this. She brought her daughter along. She would never have done this. She brought her parents along. Why would you do that? Why would you go and play bingo if you are depressed? So the family said that she was cheerful, she was laughing, she loved the karaoke, she loved the bingo, and they were convinced that something nefarious happened on that boat. The sabotaged CCTV, the purse just lying there, the purse was covered in pearls, and for that to be intact and people hearing a commotion and a scream and whatever, that just doesn't make sense. And today, nearly 20 years after this disappearance, nothing about Annette has ever been found, and it is still a haunting mystery about what happened to Annette Mizener in 2004. The case of Hue Pham and Hue Tran. In 2005, from the Carnival Destiny, the cruise liner company changed the name of the cruise in the meantime and is now called Carnival Sunshine. Now, Hue Pham and his wife Hue Tran. Hue Pham was 71 and his wife Tran was 67, and they were originally from Vietnam. They fled Vietnam and went to America, where they carved out a beautiful life for themselves in California, and they had children, and they were official American citizens. Their children were born there, their children are American, and they were married for 49 years at the time of their disappearance. The cruise ship that they were on were actually cruising between Barbados and Aruba on the evening of May 12, 2005, when they disappeared. Now, very unsettling is that is exactly the area where Amy Bradley went missing. The couple were on the ship. Everybody saw this beautiful couple that were still together. They were seen the day before, but the next day they didn't show up for breakfast, and immediately the workers started searching for them. What they found, though, was a very peculiar scene on one of the outdoor decks. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Sandals were neatly set together, along with Mrs. Tran's purse and the book that she had been reading. The book and the purse was on the railing. There were no signs of a struggle, no violence, no blood. There was just the personal items, as if the couple had just stepped out of the shoes and just quickly went over to someone. Now, the ship then retraced its route. The Coast Guard was notified. They searched for hours. They had aircraft, they say, and no bodies were found. Nobody saw anything happening. They didn't hear anything happening. And this was just a very strange case. So the Carnival Cruise Line said that Mr. and Mrs. Tran went onto the ship to commit suicide. It was a double suicide pact, and that they had jumped overboard. The family disagreed completely. They were so adamant about this. Their son, Michael Pham, noted that his parents were so happy. They had no personal problems. They had no financial problems. They had no health problems. They loved their holiday, their vacation. There was nothing untoward in anything in their lives. Their son also said that they survived fleeing from Vietnam to America. Why would they go onto a ship and commit suicide? It just doesn't make sense. And he was convinced that foul play, or even he was open to the possibility of an accident also taking place. The possibility that two people who know each other just disappear on a confined space is just very unusual. Her book, her purse, and everything, that was just so weird. And her son believes that somebody had put those items there to create a diversion, to make it look like they had jumped overboard. Now, another theory that people came up with is that one probably accidentally fell over and the other one tried to help them. But there were no cries for help and no bodies were ever found. A robbery or assault could have occurred, but there was nothing proven like that. The family also accused Carnival of being very slow to respond. The ship focused on the entertainment schedule to run its course. They didn't want to cordon off certain areas. It was like, no, the table tennis must go on, and no, the swimming must go on. No, we can't let them know that. So that was very frustrating. And in that event, evidence can go missing very quickly. The FBI got involved, but they also came up empty-handed. For their son, Michael, he feels that it's impossible for him to accept what the cruise liner had told him. So he took it as far as the US Congress, and he was also instrumental in building some laws that should somebody go overboard, there must be alarm detections in place. And that is one of the legacies of this disappearance. Now, until today, nobody knows what happened to this couple. It's a very, very eerie mystery because it's two healthy, happy people who talked to their family and was looking forward to going home eventually after this trip to see their grandchildren. And only their shoes, a purse, and a book was left at the scene. That's extremely, extremely heartbreaking. Thousands of these cases, and you can definitely start a whole new stream of videos just on the disappearances. There are very famous cases that are dealt with, but I thought of bringing these to your attention. I want you to tell me, what do you think of them? What are your theories in terms of what happened to these people? And then again, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for subscribing, for sharing, for commenting. I love reading your comments. Somebody asked about where's the cat. My two cats are still here, and she's just not so interested in the camera anymore. Tell me what you think of these cases. Do you know of any South African cases like this? Share them with me. I want to say stay off a cruise ship. But I'm just going to say, stay suspicious, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.